Excuse me, could you point me in the direction of ScreamCity? Never mind, I think I found it.
Hey horror freaks, welcome back to ScreamCity. I'm your host Jessica.
And I'm Monica, and today we are continuing our holiday movie lineup with the 2019 film The Lodge.
I'm excited.
It was a movie.
This is a movie.
This was a movie,
Yeah.
and it's on the very verge of really not being a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an extremely dramatic thriller, psychological dramatic thriller.
Yeah.
Like it was heavy in a lot of
Very
things,
heavy.
but we're going to get into that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, but again, before we get into the rest of this movie, Monica, what have you been up to lately?
honestly, nothing. I will say I'm starting to get a lot more comfortable with going to the movies now. So I've now gone to the movies twice in the past week,
Yay.
and it feels really good. I watched Menu.
Okay, nice.
So good.
I'm excited.
It is so good. It is the literal phrase of eat the rich without cannibalism, which
Nice.
sounds, I don't know how that sounds, but that's how I interpreted the movie. And it has the ending that I wanted, and I liked it a lot.
Nice. I'm excited.
I didn't have major expectations, but it was a really good movie.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
Nothing. Well, yes. I got a job, guys. I'm not unemployed anymore.
We
Woohoo.
are employed once again.
Yes,
I'm
I
sorry.
am back in the vet field. I missed it. So I was like, you know what? Let's go back. I'm broke. I have nothing to do with my life. So yeah, I'm excited for that. And yeah, besides that, just been watching the World Cup.
The World Cup
like
still.
the passionate fan that I am.
Yeah.
And yeah, just a little real quick. If it sounds echoey, it's because we're in a different setting
We are
again.
trying different locations
Yeah.
and just kind of seeing. You know, we were kind of tired of being crammed in the closet.
And if
Even
you
though
hear
it
little,
sounded great.
but
Alright.
anyway, finally getting into this movie. If you haven't watched the movie, honestly, I highly suggest for y'all to watch it.
Yeah.
Listen, it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. And just a fair warning, this movie has pretty heavy subjects such as suicide, mass suicide, and religious trauma. So watch at your own risk. Don't say that we didn't warn you.
If you haven't watched this movie, I would highly recommend that you watch it before listening to this episode. The thing about this movie is it's not horror, so it's not like gore. It's not major suspense. It's not like jump scares. It's nothing crazy like that. I think it's just really heavy with the topic of the movie, and it's a psychological thriller. So a lot goes on, but it's a really good movie. I think this is a good one to start off with if you wanted to get into horror, because again, it's on the verge of not really being horror. But either way, this movie can get a bit heavy on those topics, like Jess said. So with that being said, this movie does play the suicide card a little, I think, harder, because Jaden's character in the movie, his whole point of doing
Is to lead Grace.
is to lead Grace to do it the same way that his mom did in the beginning of the film, because it was him believing that it was her fault. So just check the warnings if you haven't watched it. But basically, okay, premise of the movie. So this movie follows a father, his girlfriend, and his 2 kids who go on a Christmas trip to a lodge. When the father has to abruptly leave due to work and leave the care of his kids to their soon-to-be stepmom, they start to experience unexplainable things that we eventually find out is related to the girlfriend's past.
Yeah. Yeah. This is...
All in one premise. And the thing that I was, you can't say much about the movie with that. Like this, I think this would be a hard movie to review if you didn't want to do spoilers, because a lot of, like, while you're watching it, I think if you're a frequent movie watcher, I think you kind of suspect like how the movie's going to go.
Right.
But if you wanted like a premise of the movie, that's like the base point of the movie, and that's literally giving nothing away.
And I'll be honest, like the first time, well, we'll get into our experiences, but the first time watching it, I was convinced that this is paranormal.
Oh yeah, I thought it was paranormal too,
Yeah.
because that's kind of how they like when they first move into the home, or not move into the home, but the first time that they go into the lodge, they show a door.
Yeah.
And I was expecting to see something behind it, like a shadow or something, but that wasn't the case.
I feel like whenever any movie kind of, focuses on the topic of religion, I feel like my first thought is like, oh, it's going to be paranormal, like think about it, like
a demon,
or
like something similar. And this was not the case.
It was not. It was not the case. But I honestly enjoyed this movie. Like I said earlier, not everyone is going to like it, but hey, there may be some of y'all who will like it. But now let's talk about our experience watching it for the first time and what our favorite scene is as well. So Monica, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, like I said, this movie was a movie. I felt very heavy after watching this movie. There was a lot of different emotions that I was feeling, but there is a lot of things that I liked about the movie. I think maybe for that reason, it wasn't Incident in a Ghostland where I felt like I had to watch cartoons afterwards,
right, yeah.
But it did make me feel like,
things.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I actually stumbled upon this movie like a couple of months ago. So I've only watched it. That was when I watched it for the first time. My boyfriend and I actually... we're doing this game where we use 3 different spinners, and the first spin is to choose a streaming service, the second one is to choose a genre, and then the third spinner is to choose the letter that movie has to start with. And luckily for me, I got Hulu, I got a thriller, and then I had to start with the letter L.
Nice.
And so The Lodge is what popped up.
Perfect.
And I watched the trailer, which gave nothing away, which I appreciate actually, because I feel like they extended trailers for a lot of movies now that give away so much of the movie that I expect so much. I don't know. I hate trailers.
My sister is anti-trailer.
Completely.
Every time we go to the movie theater and trailers start, playing, she's like, I'm listening to my music. I'm going to be on my phone. She's super anti-trailer.
It's kind of hard because there's at some point it's hard to choose what trailers I want to watch and what I don't. There are some movies that I don't mind going in completely blind, and then there's some movies where I'm like, I want to know something, and sometimes just reading about it isn't enough. So I don't know. It's hard, but I do admit that trailers tend to spoil things, or they make you expect one thing, and then you have expectations, and then it creates a setting for a bad opinion on a movie. Or, I don't know, interpretation.
I know that this most recent Halloween movie that came out showed 3 or 4 deaths in the trailer.
It did.
And I was like, I do not remember the trailer at all.
It's a Michael Myers movie. We kind of expected deaths already. Did you really have to show,
right,
people dying in a trailer?
Keep it a surprise.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever.
But I agree. But that was what I got from this trailer. I watched it and I got nothing from it, which I appreciated. But when we were watching it, we were stunned within the first 10 to 15 minutes. The first few scenes alone were very mesmerizing. So I don't know. When choosing a favorite scene, it was hard because I hated the entire thing, but I loved it.
Same.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was awful, but it was great. But if I had to choose one, I think it's going to have to be when everything is already sort of revealed. The kids admit, or they're like, yeah, it's us, it was us. There's a scene where they're upstairs and they're sitting on a thin ass mattress, both kids, and then they're just wrapped up in their own stuff because they're cold as hell.
Yeah.
And I think it's between 1 or 2 scenes, specifically the scene where Jaden's character, I forget his name in the movie already. I watched it 2 nights ago too.
Yeah.
He meets Grace, he sees Grace coming up towards the door from the snowstorm, and he sees that she's carrying her dead dog. So then he has instant regret, and he starts you can tell in his facial expressions of how regretful and remorseful he feels, and he's like, okay, fuck, I took this too far, never mind, if your plan was to get her to go this crazy, then you got her there, but now you have to deal with the whole aftermath.
There's actions.
And stuff. So
wait, there's consequences to your actions.
There's consequences to your actions. There you go. You have to deal with the consequences.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically kind of a little revenge. I also like the ending a lot. I don't know. I think it's a controversial opinion of whether people like endings or movies that leave it up for interpretation. You take it, and some people are very I don't want to guess, just tell me. And I'm like, but I think that's part of the movie experience sometimes, I guess, maybe depending.
I'm kind of both. I think it depends on the movie. For example, this movie, in my mind, I was like, oh, they've got to make a part 2. They've got to make a part 2. And it's been a few years and like nothing. But But at this point, like watching it again last night, I was like, I don't think I need a part 2. Like, I think I might. It's fun to be creative and interpret it the way that you want,
because then that's what creates conversations. It's what creates different opinions. And then sometimes there are some people that go so far and beyond with like their own endings or their own interpretations that even the creators themselves were like can be like, whoa. But this one, it leaves off in a cliffhanger, but it doesn't, because basically she ends up putting them all at the table. I like the scene where they're all at the table and she puts the tape over their mouth, and then like the dad's dead at the table, and the very last thing that we see is the revolver sitting on the table and there's 2 bullets. So my interpretation is like, oh great, she killed them. Which sounds so mean, right? Because they're children, but I mean they did a really shitty thing. A really shitty thing, which is why I said in the last episode that I'm like, yeah, fuck them kids.
Fuck them kids. No, seriously, when I watched it for the first time, I was like, heck yeah, like, get your revenge, girl. And, I obviously did feel a little, like, bad for the kids, because in my mind I was like, I hope she does kill them. But
they show, like, the true, like, childish
behavior.
Behavior of being scared of someone. So, like, it felt bad. But I was like, you knew what you were doing. Like, you can't say that.
Like, just don't talk to her. Like, don't go the extra mile.
Be the typical, like, hormonal type of like growing teenager where you're just like, whatever, I hate you, call her a bitch, bro. Like who like
exactly,
not that who cares, but like but you're gonna go as far as to like literally take someone off their prescription medications to make them feel insane, and go even a step further to like they and I think it was his idea, wasn't it? I think it was like mostly his idea.
This movie was crazy.
But anyway, there was a couple of scenes, but I think it'd have to be between them being scared or maybe like the ending. It was really good. What about you?
So I watched this, I believe, at a screening. Actually,
at a screening?
Yeah, it was either the first day.
It came out in theaters, didn't it?
Yeah,
for a while.
It was either the first day it came out or a screening. I don't remember. I watched it with my sister, and I honestly did not hate it.
No.
I did not hate it. I really liked it. The audience was mid, except for the crazy, like, suicide scene, which caught everyone off guard. Like, we all gasped.
I wanted to make that my favorite scene, because that was the one scene that made me jump and gasp. But I was like, it's a little dark, but it feels very
I kid you not, like, I'm pretty sure my mouth was open for the rest of the movie, because like after that scene I was like, what? And listen, I love when movies are not afraid to get down and dirty. Listen, of course, it's a very heavy subject, it's a very heavy scene, honestly gruesome. Yeah. There's no gore. I mean, there's no like heavy gore throughout the movie. I think this is that suicide
I think the first scene and then the scene where the dad dies. Those are like the 2 most gruesome scenes.
Yeah, like bloody.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really appreciate when movies or directors, producers, writers aren't afraid to, throw stuff in there like that. Of course, with some warnings. We obviously didn't get a warning or anything.
We didn't. We went into this pretty blind.
Yeah.
So for people who can be sensitive to those things, definitely, because they show it. It's not an insinuation. It's not like
they don't cut the screen black or anything.
They don't show you the wall of it just being bloody. Like they show
you the whole thing.
They show you the whole thing.
So
it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Shout out Alicia Silverstone.
And then the thing is that like the fact that you introduce a pretty like someone who's like pretty up there in the charts and it's like known for like she's a known actress, and so for you to just show her for the first 15 minutes and kill her off, that's what threw me off too, because I was like, okay, great, Alicia Silverstone is in this, like she's listed in the cast list, just for her to be in the first like 15 minutes. It's a little bit of a clickbait, but you know what,
it worked.
She did great.
But yeah, overall, despite the whole psychological stuff, which y'all know I'm pretty sensitive about, I liked it. Again, I definitely did think that Alicia Silverstone was going to be in it for a bit longer.
Just a little longer.
Just a little bit longer.
But that was not the case.
It was not.
Unfortunately.
It was nice to see Jaden in it, though.
Yeah, he did really good. I think he's a really good actor. He does really good.
Favorite scene? I feel like the whole time that they're at the lodge just kept me on edge the whole time. Like the whole like entirety of them being at the lodge from like the second they're there to like the end.
Yeah.
It starts off with, you know, Grace falling into the little pond or whatever. And watching it again now, it makes me think, I was like, did the kids plan that? I don't know. I mean, probably not, but I feel like maybe that's something might have triggered.
That's what I also thought. Rewatching this movie, I do look at a lot of different things, and I'm like, was that planned? Like, did they mean to do that? Like, there was a lot of things where I too was like,
And then I really like, and I think I'm saying this mainly because I'm an English literature major, and I need to overanalyze everything and all of that. But I like the scene after the funeral where they're letting go of all the black balloons.
Black funeral, they're letting... Oh, yes. Yes.
And the little girl, like, tries to, you know,
it was
send
the most
doll.
awkward scene.
It was awkward.
It was very
but
awkward.
I liked it because, I don't know, like, the way it was filmed, it just seemed so, like,
cinematography of it.
Dark. Yeah, it was the cinematography that I liked
It was
most.
very dark. I think if you're just kind of watching it, it's a really awkward scene to watch because the entire scene is literally, so everyone lets go of balloons. They go in the air, and the little girl, she tried to attach the Barbie doll that she dressed up as her mom to the balloon, but of course, because she attached it, the balloon didn't go. So then she struggles, and we're watching her while like she's struggling to take off the Barbie doll off the balloon, and then she ends up letting it go. But that like 2-minute scene feels like 15 just watching her struggle, and it's like really weird.
And if you think about it,
I can see why it'd be so dark, because it's kind of like, yeah, girl, that's...
If you think about it, like the doll wasn't going up, right?
Are you doing the interpretation?
Yeah, I'm doing the interpretation.
Yeah, because that's exactly what I thought too.
The doll isn't going up, so she had to, you know, drop it on the floor, and the balloon went ahead and just went up. And then the next scene is the little Mia crying, like her eyes out, yelling at her dad, like, you don't understand, mom's not going to go to heaven, you know, blah, blah, blah. I loved that. I think that I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Like,
but yeah, the whole movie's pretty religious in a way. It's not like in a conjuring way.
No, it's so basically the girlfriend's past is she was part of a church. It was basically like a cult, like an actual cult.
First time I watched this movie, I thought that it was that she escaped it, like herself, like she was able to escape it. But watching it again last night, I think she had to have been the one to not really do it, but you know, play a part in it. Yeah. Because then think about it, like, but where do you think she got all that crazy from? Like, she had to have start somewhere.
True.
I think.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I think if you grow up in something like that, there's really no, and then especially if you're doing it at such a young age, I don't think there's getting away from that. I think, but basically, when we say religious trauma, that's basically what we mean. She comes from an occult, and so she's like, she has to be on medications because of her traumatic past that she was living. And then it's basically kind of like an X, like where Maxine comes from, like a religious past as well, because her dad was a priest or a preacher.
Another scene that I liked, again, fuck them kids, but I thought it was very sweet when Aiden went into Mia's room after she was like crying.
100%.
I thought it was very
like
sweet.
In the beginning of the movie, she's like bawling her eyes out.
And he like brought his pillow and his blanket and like, you know, slept right next to her.
Slept on the floor next to her.
Very sweet.
Under her bed. Yeah.
But, you know, a few minutes later, I'm like, fuck them kids.
We're like, screw these kids. Yeah. But yeah, that was really sweet, because in a way he's still taking care of her, and I think that's how he saw it throughout the movie. I just also realized that this is our third like Jaden film that we reviewed. Yeah. Before we get into the cast, I have a fun cast fact. Danny, is it?
I have no idea how to pronounce her name.
Mispronounce his last name.
K. We'll just say K. Danny K.
Danny K, who played Grace's dad, so the preacher in the movie, aka the cult leader, is actually Riley
K's
dad in real life.
Yeah. And fun fact about Danny K, he either married or dated Elvis Presley's daughter.
What?
In the 80s, 90s,
What?
something like that. Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah. I thought he was an actor, and then I did some deep dive. I don't think he was an actor. I think he just dated Elvis Presley. I don't know her name. They were affiliated in some way. But yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. That's really cool.
I love that for them. And I also recently read or saw somewhere, which, by the way, this has nothing to do with the Lodge, but very similar story. But I read that Anthony Michael Hall, who plays Brian on The Breakfast Club, actually had his real mother and sister play his mother and sister during The Breakfast Club. So I thought that was really cool.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cute.
Yeah.
I love that. I love when we introduce family members into big screens because I feel like that actually happens a lot more than maybe what we think, and we don't look into it. Like in Elf, the security guard is actually one of the security guards that ends up throwing out Buddy out of the Empire State Building. Is one of the bodyguards is Will Ferrell's brother.
Oh,
yeah.
But yeah, the cast was good.
I liked the cast.
I really liked the cast. I think
good.
Very minimally, the acting was a little bit questionable, just from a few parties. That was my initial thought the first time watching it. Watching it now, last night, I was like, it's good. It's not bad. Yeah. Overall, we had some pretty well-known names. We've already mentioned these, but starting off, of course, with Alicia Silverstone. Alicia Silverstone. I don't know. I guess it really just depends on how you pronounce it. Y'all know who she is.
Y'all know who she is. And if you don't know who she is,
you're
clueless.
too young. Yeah.
You are clueless.
Yes. You are clueless.
You are clueless about what she does.
And then Jaden Martell, of course, who we've mentioned a few times on a few episodes.
I think he's so phenomenal.
And then Riley and Danny K.
I can't want to mispronounce their last name.
And Richard Armitage. And of course, the little girl, Leah McHugh. So Mia, basically. Whenever I think she did really good, especially, her being so young and being in a genre so intense. It kind of, watching it last night again, kind of reminded me of how good the little girl was from the Black Phone. We haven't covered it.
We haven't covered Black Phone, but when we do, I will praise
little girl,
her.
again, don't know her name, was so good. And she made me,
she made me cry.
She made me cry and feel certain emotions during a specific scene. So
I had to look away.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, my sister was like, oh my god,
that was really hard.
Yeah, it was
really
crazy
hard to watch. But I didn't know that this movie. I mean, I don't know how much marketing this movie went into. I don't know how many times
I don't think it got a lot of promotion.
It didn't get a lot of promo and a lot of attention. But what I like seeing in a lot of these type of films is when you have one or two people that's pretty well known for something else, but then the rest of the cast is who that. Because then that just gives you more experience with different actors and different people, and then you kind of go on this world full of oh, I've seen that person in this, and it's this huge thing. And
I also appreciate that, because I feel like it can be a little risky for
production
for them to
hire people
hire a cast unknown, who we don't know, because people are being like, well, I don't know anyone.
I'm not gonna watch that. I don't know anyone.
So I think it is pretty smart to have at least one or two,
let me grab your attention with this person, but this is who you're actually going to be watching.
Knives Out, holy shit!
It's and then you get movies like Knives Out where you know every single person, and then it makes you really excited to watch something like that. So it can go either or, but I do like the films that I don't really know anybody in, because then you get to have the experience of watching someone else do their thing, and I think it's cool.
Especially with younger actors, I think seeing them in movies, excites me because you get a sneak peek of the future generation of actors.
Yeah,
and I think that's really cool. So again, this movie is kind of based off a cult.
Kind of, basically, yeah.
Any cult story or movie, to me, just honestly creeps me out.
It's a creepy thing.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
I like to think that I would be able to get away, but I'm not sure. Because
girl, once you're brainwashed, you're brainwashed.
Yeah, some people are very gullible and just not in the right headspace. And of course, people take advantage of that. And they basically like gaslight and manipulate them into staying or joining a cult. And I actually read that the cult that Grace was in the movie, when she was younger, was actually based on the Heaven's Gate cult, which left 39 people dead after they committed mass suicide.
Yeah, it's not like a word for word based off of it, but it's kind of like a reference to it. Like they kind of used it as for like similarities. Yeah, cults are pretty crazy, but I think something to understand too, that a lot of these cults, they start you off as children, so they make it seem like if it's something that's normal and something that you grow up with, which is why people don't ever get away, because they don't know anything outside of of that other than the leader and things like that. So people who create cults are pretty fucked up. Everyone has a reasoning to do different things, but I think
here's something that I noticed. So throughout the movie, we see Mia play with her dolls, and we see a dollhouse and all of that.
There's a lot of reference back and forth to the dollhouse.
Yes.
And I keep thinking it's like a foreshadowing of what's going to happen.
So that, the dollhouse itself reminds me of Hereditary. And Hereditary, again, was also sort of I haven't watched it in a second.
It's also like a cult.
Yeah, cultish. So I don't know if there's like some research that we haven't done where,
they
something about cults and dollhouses,
like
but
honestly, there might be some type of connection there. And maybe it's like the envisioning of something small, but that looks so big. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I honestly will say that this movie sort of gave me Hereditary vibes.
It's like a mixture of Hereditary minus the extremeness of it. I wouldn't say it's as extreme. I would say it's a little more on the duller side with extreme, but it is almost the same concept as Hereditary. Another topic that it also kind of shines on with this movie is mental illness. Specifically mental illness, not just like anxiety and depression, but like someone who has severe like PTSD, basically. I watched this girl on YouTube who does horror reviews. She, Possessed by Horror. I don't know if you've like seen her.
I'm subscribed to her.
Yeah, I love her so much. But I remember watching the review to this movie, and she had made a comment about how she's a little sensitive when it comes to movies that sort of display mental illness in a negative light, because she has like a psychology degree and everything. So, but she did say that she felt that this movie sort of did that. Like it shined a little bit of a negative light with mental illness because, and I sort of agree, because I also wanted to mention on here that not every person that has a mental illness, specifically PTSD, will always react the same way. Right. People are on medications for a reason, to help them and to do what they need, but it's not always going to be this type of aggression or quote unquote like possession. So if you're not someone who deals with it, with a severe mental illness, or if you are not sure what it's like, or if you don't know someone who is like in it, or someone who deals with something like that every day, just don't always assume that people always react this way.
Again, this movie was very... When I found out that it was the kids doing it...
Oh, the way I was like, oh my God!
I felt betrayed.
Oh, 100%.
I felt gaslighted. I think that totally changed my perspective on the movie. Watching it the first time, I never saw the signs. I don't think I ever saw the signs.
I thought of it as like an afterthought. I'm like, it'd be real fucked up if they were doing this to her.
Yeah. Like literally at the very end, like seconds before they fessed up.
They revealed.
I was like, wait a minute. I was like, let me put two and two together, and then boom. Now knowing that it was actually the kids, I was like, fuck. Like, y'all made me watch a psychological horror movie without knowing that it was psychological. Like it was,
It was, because it gives you like the premise. Like you start until they give you the reveal that it's the kids who did this, it gives you like Hereditary. So you're not sure exactly what it is. Like you can't tell if it's like paranormal. Like you can't tell if it's someone from the outside or like it's not. I think the scariest thing is that you're experiencing something so horrific from the inside that it's literally like your own kind that's doing this to you.
Yeah. And that again, I always say this. Like,
never go to a lodge with kids.
Number one. Number two, fuck them kids. Number three. That is why I'm very sensitive about like, not slashers. I love slashers, but like psychological movies that have to do with humans. You know what I mean? Like Incident in a Ghostland.
Like
and
things that can be really triggering for like real life scenarios. Because it's like slashers, yes, can be a real scenario, but like they have a cute costume on.
Yeah. And
like, have you seen Ghostface?
They're not gaslighting you. They're not manipulating you. They're just like, killing you. Yeah. But I love this quote. And I don't know if I've said it already before on this podcast. If I'm not mistaken, I don't remember which movie this comes on. I think it's Houses October Built. Either Houses October Built.
Yes, it's in the beginning.
Okay.
Oh, wait, no. Hell House, maybe? Or Incident?
Go ahead. One of them. Anyway, one of them, psychological, whatever. It says, I'm not afraid of werewolves or vampires or haunted houses. I'm afraid of what real human beings do to other human beings, by Walter John Williams.
I'm like 88% sure that that's from Houses October Built.
Same.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And I agree.
Because we are the worst.
We're worse than any type of demon.
Yeah, honestly.
Literally.
Like,
I'd rather encounter my own physical demons in person
than be manipulated by a human.
Manipulated and gaslighted by someone, because we as humans know us as humans, if that makes sense, like what we're capable of, and like we do what we don't. I guess that's kind of hard to kind of depict, but yes, I completely agree.
No, but being manipulated is one of the worst feelings ever, because you feel crazy. You
feel insane. Like at that point, I mean, at the end of the movie, Grace was so far gone that by the time that the kids were like, it was us, we promised, like she's so far gone. Too far gone that she was like,
there's no going back.
She was literally only looking, she had tunnel vision, and that was the only thing. Like she was like, no, like we're sinners. Yeah. Like, no, this is gonna be the end of it. And the kids were like, we were just kidding. And she's like, no, you're so right.
But anyway,
this movie is crazy. So speaking of entities and humans, let's play Would You Rather.
A little Would You Rather. Yeah.
I like our Would You Rather.
So, would you rather encounter something similar like this, like encounter and find out it was someone messing with you in a harsh way, or encounter an actual entity to do doing all of the
hauntings? Like, would you rather be gaslit by a person or be gaslit by a ghost?
I mean, by a demon, yeah. Here's the thing. I know we were literally just talking about this like 2 seconds ago. I don't like humans. So I would hate it if it was a human like doing this to me. Because I'm like, how could you? But you can kill a human.
You can
kill a human. And if you're already cray-cray, like if you've already too far gone, boom. Like, it's not going to hurt.
I guess that's true. I feel like my pride wouldn't let me. Like even if I've already killed them and like did everything that I could to like hurt them, but like in my mind I'm like, I can't believe that I let myself believe you. Like, I already have trust issues to begin with. So I feel like I wouldn't be able to be like, it's okay, I forgive you. Like, I'd rather be like, yeah, a ghost don't fuck me up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I want to say I think I'd rather encounter hauntings from an entity than a person, because I feel like, I don't know.
No, same. Because I think I'm only saying human so that I can beat them up and like kill them and all of that.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Like, I can beat the shit out of them.
An entity though, like a ghost or whatever,
you can, depending on what type of entity it is, you can shoo them away.
Well, yeah, but at least you won't feel too crazy. Like, that's people may not believe you that it's an entity doing this.
They'll try to gaslight
but you know. But you know that it's an entity.
And then if someone encounters the same hauntings as you,
and be like, what I
all
tell
crazy.
you.
Yeah, exactly. Just like any other paranormal movie that we watch. So I'm going to go with the Entity because my pride won't let me.
Love that. I'll go with Entity too.
Yeah, because humans are scary. But okay, let's move it forward, and we're going to rate the movie now. So this movie did have horror elements, but I think it's more of a psychological thriller. So we'll still be adding the scary scale just so that we have our references, and then for if you're interested in watching it, and you can kind of guess off of our scale. So again, for our horror movies, we have satisfactory scale and a scary scale. Just because a movie is scary doesn't mean it's always good, or vice versa. So what do you think?
Satisfactory. So when I first thought about this Satisfactory, I originally gave it like a 7.5.
Okay.
But I think analyzing it a little bit more, like in person, like out loud, I'm like, dang, actually, like I feel like they really put the whole titty in it.
Yeah, they sure did.
So I'll move it up to an 8.5.
Yeah.
Again, I didn't hate it. I wouldn't call it my all-time favorite movie.
For specific reasons.
Right. Listen, this movie got a bad rating.
Did it?
Like almost everywhere. Yeah.
Really?
People are like, I forgot this review that I read, but it was a pretty stupid review. And it got a bad rating, but I personally liked it. It was psychological, and so obviously it got me good. But I think it was a type of film that I was able to tolerate, especially after being gaslit the whole movie and thinking it was an entity, and the whole time it was just humans. So I think that's why I thought it was tolerable for me. But yeah, I honestly enjoyed the movie. I'll definitely watch it again soon. Maybe. And then scary scale, I'll give it like a 4.5 to 5.
Okay.
Mainly for the eeriness and the occasional jump scare, but most of all, the gaslighting. And the psychological aspect of it.
Gaslighting is pretty scary.
Yeah.
Pretty terrifying.
It is.
Okay.
What about you, Monica?
My satisfactory scale is also, mine's going to be a 9 out of 10 for this. I thought it was a really good movie, mostly because I enjoyed it all throughout. I was focused in it. I wasn't really left. I think the middle part maybe was extended a little too much, but I didn't find myself completely bored, if that makes sense. I was still interested because in my head, overanalyzing every single scene that I was watching after so long. I will say the scene where she's out in the blizzard and walking around, I feel like that could have been cut a little short. I was kind of like, okay, I get it. You're walking around like you're trying to find places, and then she ends up in that like home that looks like from far away across. Again, references everywhere. So it was good. As far as the scary scale, mine's more of a 4 out of 10. I don't think it's that scary at all. I think the 4 mostly comes from the emotions that it gave me that normally come with a horror movie, but it's because of the really heavy topics and like the heavy scenes that it shows for some certain things. But overall, I think it was a good movie. This is the type of movie that I will mostly not rewatch on my own, but to show other people. And I want to see their reactions and their interpretations.
But it's definitely a movie that would be interesting to watch with a group. Because, especially if you're with a group and you guys are by yourself, you guys can analyze it while you're watching it. I think it's fun, and especially during that scene. But yeah. All right. Well, I think this concludes the end of the Lodge episode. Again, I enjoyed talking about it and over-analyzing it. I think we're really good at that. And again, highly suggest y'all watch it if you're down to do so. It's set during Christmas time, so you'll feel like you're in the Christmas spirit. And again, thanks for y'all's support. It makes us so happy to see our followers and listeners go up.
It does. It feels really nice, and we appreciate all of the support that we get, even this if it's the smallest amount. I think it is important for you all to know that we do this because we are truly passionate about horror and we want to connect with as many of you as we can. So thanks again for tuning in and following us. And if you're not already following us yet, we do have our social medias linked in the description for this episode.
Yes. And now on to next week's episode. Can I get a drum roll, please?
Yes, ma'am.
The new movie, Violent Night.
That movie was so good.
It was so good.
We watched a pre-screening last night. It's not December 2nd yet. We're recording this a couple of days before. But this is a movie that I will be rewatching, and we're going to explain our experience for the pre-screening and everything. But I'm excited about talking about Violent Night. It's not a horror movie, by the way. So if you haven't had a chance to watch Violent Night, it should be out by the time this episode airs. I would say go watch it in theaters. It is a comedy action.
Yeah.
There's a lot of gore.
Action comedy. Oh my God, a lot of gore.
And that's what I appreciated about this movie.
Yes, dude. My sister and I were just laughing our heads off after the movie. It was awesome.
It was great. So.
But yeah, we're excited to talk about that next week. And again, thanks for listening to Scream City. As always, we've been your hosts, Jessica
and Monica.
Stay safe and stay spooky.
Oof, that was scary. I can't wait to come back next week.